Crawl spaces are often overlooked parts of your home, but it's a great idea to insulate them because they continue to enclose your entire home in a nice thermal blanket to help keep you cool during the summer and warm during the winter. Here's what you need for installation. Make sure to buy the correct R value for your project. A project like this typically takes R30 or 38. We recommend unfaced pre-cut bats because they're easier to handle when you don't have a lot of room. If you do use craft face, the paper side should be pushed up against the subfloor above to keep moisture from moving between your home and the crawl space. And don't forget the right tools and safety gear. Cover the ground with a durable plastic liner to keep moisture out of your crawl space. The plastic sheet should cover the entire floor and extend up the foundation wall and all piers or footings by at least 6 inches. It's best to secure or seal the sheeting in place. And don't forget the knee pads. There are 2 types of crawl spaces. Vented, which is open to the outside like under a porch or possibly an addition, and unvented, which is enclosed and part of your basement. First, we'll talk about vented crawl spaces. In these areas, you'll be insulating above you. You'll fit bats or cut rolls of insulation into the joists. You'll want to measure the length and width between joists in the subfloor above you to make sure your insulation will fit top to bottom, side to side. If it needs a trim, you can use a 2x4 and a utility knife to cut it down, or cut lengthwise to fit more narrow spaces. Now we'll fit the bats into the joists and make sure they fit snugly so you don't have any airspace between the flooring and the insulation. When you come across heating ducts and water pipes, install insulation below them to prevent heat from escaping or pipes from freezing and bursting. You may need to remove some top layers of insulation so the insulation fits in tight spaces. We're going to use wire fasteners to hold the insulation in place. These fasteners bow up into the insulation. Press them gently into your insulation without overcompressing. That would make the insulation less effective. The sharp edges of these fasteners can be, well, sharp. Wear protective gear, including safety goggles. That's it for vented crawl spaces. Now let's move on to unvented crawl spaces. In these areas, we're going to install insulation down along the walls. Before we get started, it's important to make sure your crawl space is air sealed, meaning you'll seal all the header and stringer joists with caulk. Also seal the mud sill and the foundation wall. Once that's accomplished, you're ready to add insulation to the walls. First, we need to find our header joists, which run across the ends of the floor joists. Here they are. Fit and cut pieces of unfaced insulation between each floor joist. We can let friction and the sill hold the pieces in place. Next, we're going to install standard-sized unfaced rolls down the length of the wall. The insulation should be cut long enough to hang down the wall and extend 2 feet along the floor of the crawl space. Use furring strips to nail the insulation to the edge of the sill plate or the bottom of the header joist. Next, let's find our stringer joists, which are long and run parallel to the floor joist. Install unfaced insulation down this wall in the same way we did the other, except here we'll position the insulation against the underside of the subfloor and then nail or staple it to the stringer joist. Once all the insulation is hung, you'll lay 2x4s across the insulation as close as possible to the wall where it meets the ground to keep it in place. And that's it for insulating crawl spaces. We hope you enjoy your cozy blanket of protection. Now that you've watched this video, you're primed for more. Check out other ways JM Insulation can protect your home.